This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below.
Yeah, man, it keeps getting worse for the Browns, unfortunately. So this year has been a disaster on the field. And how the Browns are handling stuff, I don't think is any better. And honestly, to me at least, this feels like a disaster or a tragedy in the making. And see, what makes a tragedy happen is not that it's sad, right? That the Browns are losing games. That's not the tragic part of it. Teams have non-winning seasons all the time. It's not really a tragedy that your team goes under 500. But what does make this tragic is that the elements that are creating this are so identifiable and so avoidable. But for other reasons, we keep allowing these things, these obvious problems that the Browns have, to have rather predictable, disastrous results in the future. I felt this when I watched this press conference today. This is from Kevin Stefanski.
With the offensive struggles you guys have been having and, the playoff hopes kind of shrinking, just why not try Jameis as a potential spark that you're looking for?
Yeah, I think it's just important that we continue to do everything we can to play good, sound football. I think there were moments of that, obviously, yesterday. I think DeShaun gives us the best chance to win, continues to give us the best chance to win, and we need to play really good offensive football at his position and really at every position to be successful on Sunday.
That was Kevin Stefanski saying some words I don't think he's going to be able to put back into the tube, right? DeShaun Watson gives us the best chance to win. And to some of us, we may be able to instinctively and instantly identify why him saying those words are going to be eventually what seals his fate with DeShaun Watson. Up until this point, I thought that we existed in a world where Kevin would be able to avoid going down with DeShaun. But now, while I don't think it will be instantaneous with DeShaun, I think the effects of having Kevin go out there and defend DeShaun Watson during this stretch of games will be too much for Kevin Stefanski to survive as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. And ultimately, I think this is going to be a tragedy, right? Because it's not just that you're firing a head coach. And look, the Browns haven't fired a head coach yet. And they probably won't this year. Even if they bench DeShaun at the end of the year, they won't bench him this year. But I fear about the seeds that are planted when you say something that ridiculous in a press conference. And that's going to be something that people are going to hold on to. And it's going to go around. I know they say the players don't watch the press conferences, and that might be true. But people are going to quote that outside the context of the press conference. It's going to become a thing that Kevin Stefanski said to DeShaun Watson in 2024 gives the Cleveland Browns the best chance to win. Look, if you're a player and every time DeShaun has a bad game and you don't get the ball because of it, you're going to be thinking, well, coach thinks that's the guy who gives us the best chance to win. If you end up having to switch quarterbacks because of injury and that injured quarterback that comes in or the backup quarterback that comes in has a better year than DeShaun Watson, you're going to remember that the coach said that the dude that got injured was the guy who had the best chance to win. it's going to be used against you no matter what. That's my point. That is a quote that no matter how the Browns season ends, positive or negative, it only doesn't work against you if DeShaun Watson goes from being the worst quarterback in the NFL to maybe one of the mid quarterbacks in the NFL. And I don't feel like it's very possible right now. I have in my hand some splits. Some splits that show you what DeShaun Watson was doing in 2023. Some splits that tell you what the Browns offense have done with Jacoby Brissett and Joe Flacco combined. And some splits that tell you what the Browns offense did with DTR, PJ Walker. And some splits that tell you what the Browns offense is doing in 2024 with DeShaun Watson. See, when the Browns offense is just starting a generic backup level quarterback, right? Your Joe Flacco, your Jacoby Brissett, a backup quarterback who's capable of having some good games for sure, but still at the end of the day, gonna be somebody's backup. When the Browns are starting that guy, the offense averages about 21 or 22 first downs per game. The offense averages in total yardage 380 yards, and the Browns expect points above expectation is plus 64, and their average points per game is 25.3. That's when you combine what Jacoby Brissett did in 2022 in extended time as the starter while DeShaun Watson was suspended, and what Joe Flacco did in extended time as the starter while DeShaun Watson was injured. That's what's capable in this offense. It's not amazing numbers, but they're pretty serviceable. The Browns had an offense that looked like that in the first 6 weeks of this season. I don't think they'd be 1-6. My bad. 7 weeks of the season. How many weeks has it been? They wouldn't be 1 and whatever. The semantics really just don't matter at that point about the Browns record. And see, in 2023, DeShaun Watson met that standard. He averaged about 21 first downs a game. He averaged about 360 yards of offense a game. Well, not he, the offense did. Expected points wasn't where you wanted it to be, so there was room for improvement. They were at minus 5.38. But in total points, the Browns were averaging 27 points a game when DeShaun Watson was a starter in 2023. So there was no problem with DeShaun being the starter in 2023. In 2024, the Browns are averaging 15 first downs a game. Remember, the goal number is 21. In 2024, the Browns average 240 yards of total offense. Keep in mind, in 2023 with DeShaun Watson, it was 359 yards of total offense. And if you combine the Joe Flacco and Jacoby Brissett stuff, it's 380 yards of total offense. Expected points is just a flat-out disaster for this team. Right now, in 2024, remember, with Jacoby Brissett and Joe Flacco combined, expected points for the offense, plus 64. In 2024, expected points for the offense, minus 64. Minus 64. Best chance to win. 95 points this year. Keep in mind, 14 of those 95 points came from the defense. So if we subtract that, we're talking about 81 points. We're talking about 13.5 points a game from your offense. But let's be generous here. Let's be charitable and even include those points, because I'm not going out and sifting out the defensive touchdowns for all these other years. Even if you give them those points, 15.8 points a game. The Browns can't beat anybody if they score more than 10 points or 13 points. They can't beat anybody. So from 2023, the Browns went from averaging 27 points as an offense with DeShaun Watson. They're down to 16. Now, here's where these splits go from slightly frustrating to horrifying. We will all admit that the worst stretches of quarterback play in 2023 were when the Browns had to start DTR and PJ Walker. Well, those two played in the majority of 6 games. So about equal to what DeShaun Watson has done in 2024. So let's compare what DTR and PJ Walker did combined with the offense, or what the offense did combined with those two versus what the offense is doing in 2024. Well, with DTR and PJ Walker, the Browns had more first downs in 6 games, 111 to 90 first downs with DeShaun Watson this year. If you average that out per game, that's 18.5 to 15. Total yards, the Browns offense with DTR and PJ Walker able to get to about 1,729. You put that down in the 6-game average, it's 288 yards of total offense. Not great. Right now, the Browns in 6 games have 1,441 yards of total offense and 240 yards a game. So awful. Expected points, 2024, they're at minus 64. 2023 with DTR and PJ Walker, minus 62. If you're looking at points per game, the Browns with DTR and PJ Walker scored 106 points. In 2024, with DeShaun Watson, they've scored 95. It's 15.8 to 17.6. DeShaun Watson in 2024 is worse than what you were getting out of your emergency quarterback and your rookie 5th-round pick. This is where they're at. This is what you're telling me, if I'm in that locker room, gives this team the best chance to win. See, what I'm worried about, the impact that those words having, is that everybody in that locker room, including some of the major players here, right? Because there are going to be some minor characters in that locker room that aren't going to like it. But we're talking about the Myles Garretts who are going to be here for a while, right? The David Njokus potentially, the Denzel Wards, the players that you plan, the Grant Delpits, the JOKs, the players you plan on keeping around for your next rebuild window. Those guys are still in that locker room. Those guys are watching the quarterback play every week. And those guys are hearing you tell them that this is the quarterback that gives you the best chance to win. They don't care why that's the case. I know a lot of people are surmising that this is actually Jimmy Haslam saying these words and not Kevin Stefanski saying these words, even though the only person we're seeing say these words is Kevin Stefanski. And it's real easy to fall into that narrative, right? Jimmy Haslam is known for being an incompetent, sometimes toxic owner. This is an incompetent and toxic decision. Meanwhile, Kevin Stefanski is a 2-time coach of the year who's not known for toxicity and stupidity. And maybe that's why people are just saying that this is all Jimmy Haslam, because they couldn't imagine a 2-time coach of the year would double down on something this bad. Well, one, pride to make you do anything. And I think what's going on here is pride on the case of the Cleveland Browns. I think Andrew Berry is too proud to admit this is a failure. I think Kevin Stefanski is too proud to admit that this is a failure. And Jimmy Haslam is too proud to admit this is a failure. They're all too proud. They're all in this together. And if they don't wake up soon, they're all, except for Jimmy Haslam, are going to go down on this one, because this doesn't seem like a front office that is begging to bench DeShaun Watson. This doesn't seem like a coaching staff that's begging to bench DeShaun Watson. Let's call a spade here. Everybody's painting this narrative as if Kevin Stefanski is a prisoner in Jimmy Haslam's decision-making, but everything I see from Kevin Stefanski makes it seem like this is something that he's okay with. You're not hearing the stuff that you heard about Todd Monken and Freddie Kitchens when Todd Monken was basically telling people that he wasn't down with the program. Like, we're not hearing that kind of stuff come out. They're a unified front on this. DeShaun is the guy going forward. So I don't buy this story of Jimmy Haslam just controlling all the shots here. I don't even know how involved Jimmy is at this point. I don't see him at the games. He's not. I don't know if he's even there. I don't know if he's even watching. I don't know if he even cares. But I know who is there every week. Kevin Stefanski. And look, I have been somebody who has seen a lot of the good in what Kevin's been able to do so far in Cleveland. I think there is a lot of good in what Kevin can do. I think Kevin's a good coach. But good coaches tie themselves down to dumb shit all the time, and it ends up costing them jobs. And this is one of those things that could be that case, because this could be a big part in him losing the locker room going forward. There's no way you're telling me that this level of offense is viable to the rest of this team as the best option going forward. Unless something even wilder is going on behind the scenes that truly does make everybody in that locker room feel this way, then I'm just befuddled by this choice to say that. Because that's not just saying we're sticking with DeShaun Watson this week. That's saying we're sticking with DeShaun Watson for the rest of the season. When you say that, saying that just locks you into looking like an ass. Because if you bench DeShaun Watson in a couple of weeks, people are going to throw that quote in your face. If you keep Watson out there, every time he throws an interception or turns the ball over or just flat does nothing on offense, people are going to be reminded that you said that this is the guy who gives you the best chance to win. So then when it comes to the end of the year and you're 2 and whatever or 3 and whatever, and people are looking at who to blame, ownership included, well, you can't shrug your shoulders anymore and say, look, it was the quarterback play. Because you told us out of your mouth that this quarterback gives you the best chance to win. Kind of ties you in, man. I know a lot of the people who are extremely pro Kevin Stefanski are going to fight me on this. And I'm fighting enough battles within the fan base because everybody's all tattered on who to blame and who goes and who stays. I'm not telling you that I think Kevin Stefanski is a bad coach, but I'm telling you right now, this was a bad decision, and it can have disastrous consequences for Kevin Stefanski, for the Cleveland Browns, if you're somebody who believes in Kevin Stefanski. That's how I feel about it right now. That's my immediate reaction to that press conference clip. That's my immediate fears from hearing that press conference clip. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out, especially when it comes to Kevin's job security. I can tell you this right now. I feel significantly more concerned about that than I did before. If you woke me up yesterday and asked me, do I think Kevin Stefanski's going to get fired about this eventually? I would have said no. I think he's going to survive it. After that, I don't know. And maybe I'm reacting too harshly to one clip in a press conference. But the timing of it, saying it when you said it, feels like a big blooper to me. It feels like a big blooper to me. And I've seen enough big bloopers to know when someone just made one, in my opinion. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. Do you think this quote at the press conference is going to lead to him losing credibility in his locker room, and that's going to be what ends up costing Kevin his job at the end of the day? Let me know what you think. You have a good one. Peace.